What's going on, people? Welcome back to Connected Perspectives, man. I got a good one for you guys and gals. This is going to be the first video to a series that I am titling The Tactics of the Common Enemy. The common enemy that I'm referring to in this video and in this series is the person or the organization that has a superiority mindset, one who wants to exploit your time, resources, and energy for their benefit while leaving you with the scraps. The common enemy, the person the people, the organizations that you don't see that are very much influencing your world, your reality, your circumstances, your opportunities. How can we know how to defend ourselves from a threat if we don't know how to identify the threat? How can we know how to defend ourselves from a threat without knowing how to identify the threat, where it's coming from? So I'm gonna give y'all one. I was reading The Destruction of Black Civilization, and I was on page 141, and in the book he was speaking about when Ethiopia got split up and broken into three different kingdoms, and I'm gonna list them from greatest to least. It was Dongola, Alloy, and Makuria. So what was happening in Ethiopia at this time was similar to what was happening all over the continent. You know, a lot of Christian churches were being placed strategically to convert the people into Christianity. They were being blocked opportunities to raise due to their quote-unquote credentials, saying that they didn't have the right learning to be priests and higher up positions in the churches. The Arabs and Asians were setting up camps along the seacoast of these places to control the trade coming in and out. So they're restricting these people from growing in their own native land, and at the same time trying to take over and act like that they were the originators of the land, which is kind of messed up. And if you compare it to today, looking in our neighborhoods, you can see that this same tactic is being used. So I'm going to tie it in here. Stay tuned. And that's one tactic of the common enemy, is that they want to infiltrate where you are, break you up. That way they can control you. They can go from one section to another and control you and influence you. That's one thing. But now let's look at the main thing that I'm gonna focus on. Whenever you're in your neighborhood, if you're Latino, Black, Native, whenever you're in your neighborhood or your area, your terrain, I want you to reflect on what you see around you in your community, especially if you're a Black American. What do you see in your community? What are the businesses? They're owned by people and groups that are not you. And right here, I like to put a specific magnifying glass on like banking institutions, educational institutions, the EMS and medical services and therapeutic services, things of that nature that are crucial in the development of the community. That right there, I want you to hold on to that thought about your environment and your opportunities in your environment as I give you this tactic of the common enemy. They want to take your resources, so they sell you things. They sell you products, they sell you services, and they sell you religious views. And all three of these things are usually not having the best interest in heart for you as an individual to help you grow. It's literally just to further their businesses and their endeavors and their cultures while leaving you with the scraps. Whether it be online, whether it be in person, whatever. They want to get your resources. They build within your community or your camps. They influence your people with their philosophy and religion while at the same time gatekeeping credentials, education, and opportunities to progress in those institutions. So with them gatekeeping the credentials, like the processes that it takes to obtain, business authorization, right to sell, right to all of the credentials that they gatekeep that they don't teach you within your own community, right? That's one tactic. The education, they don't educate you on your finances, on discipline, on working together and coexisting with ones that you don't necessarily agree with. They don't educate you on these things that are needed to be successful within a community. All the while taking your resources, keep that in mind. And also they gatekeep opportunities to progress in these institutions. So the businesses, the churches, the schools that are placed in your community, they also gatekeep opportunities to progress in there. You can only get to a certain level. You're not going to be the principal. You're not going to be the higher administrator. You're not going to be the general store manager. You're not going to be any of those things. You're just going to be at this. They're going to keep you at a certain level, right? And right here is crucial because I know I mentioned like general store manager and stuff like that, but honestly, let's speak, honestly, like when you look at the stores that aren't big corporation like a Dollar General or a Big Lots or some of that nature, the people that own those stores, they're not gonna give you the manager position. They're not gonna give you the bookkeeping position. They're not gonna give you the property manager position because that's gonna be taking away jobs from their people, right? They're in your neighborhood to exploit your resources and exploit your time and labor. They want to, because we have it. Black African Americans have a bunch, a surplus of money, bro. Like, it's so much money we just waste and spend. It's not organized. So keep that in mind when I say, because I know when I said general store manager, people's like, oh, I know somebody that's manager. We're not talking about big corporations. And then even in those spaces, like, come on. But continue. So when they build within your community, influence your people with their philosophies and religion, and then gatekeep the credentials, education, and opportunity, right? That's effectively ostracizing you and your offspring of any real opportunity to build anything within not only the external environment and economy, when you go outside of your environment, your camp, but also now they're ostracizing you within your own environment, your own camp. They're leaving you to scraps. They're forcing you to be a consumer. Because one thing, contrary to popular belief, Black people have a lot of money, but we don't organize it. That's why they do set up their businesses, their schools, their churches in our communities, because we have resources. Think about Africa, how they go to Africa to take but don't never put back in, right? So, checkmate. That's a tactic of the common enemy, right? They want to take your resources, build within your camps, influence your people with their philosophy and religion, and then gatekeep opportunities of credentials, education, and opportunities to advance in those institutions. So now that I've given you guys this information, what are we gonna do with it? Whenever you're out and maneuvering in your camp, be aware of these restraints. Be aware of these tactics, because that's when you're gonna start to be able to organize yourself, right? That's when you're gonna be able to be aware of the common enemy.